Welcome back to another episode of Introduction to Computer Networks at NTU. This is Polly again, and as usual, we'll go over the announcements. And as usual, for the Wednesday session, there's not much to say, except that next Wednesday is exam 2. All right, and good morning to you, James, Williams. Good that you guys arrive in time. And we are about to start the topics today. Okay, and what we will be talking about entirely today is to continue the discussion about the congestion control mechanism in TCP. And yesterday we spent quite a bit of time playing a game just to make a point really clear. To do congestion control, when it's busy, when the situation is bad, you slow down. And when it's smooth, traffic is coming through, you speed up. Okay. And as you guys see during the quiz, that it's not exactly easy to get the exact price right. Similarly, for the internet, it is not exactly easy to get the exact sending speed right. And there are multiple reasons, as you guys heard yesterday, right? If you try to guess what is the right sending speed from the end, it's harder because you are far away from where the congestion is happening. Just like the fellow Uber drivers of yours, it's a little bit hard for them to get a real sense of what's going on really in the middle of the congestion. Another reason is this: internet traffic is really dynamic. This particular router might be knowing this right sending rate at this moment, but there could be suddenly another surge of traffic coming in, and the router suddenly sees the sending rate changing. And you see that it takes time to notify the end, right? So that they can adjust the sending rate in real time. So it's hard to control to the precise sending rate. Okay, so you will see today the rest of TCP's congestion control mechanism is just trying to do the best TCP can. All right, good. And good morning to Henderson and Sherman. So yesterday I introduced the mechanism in TCP that's called AIMD. We speed up conservatively. And in case there's congestion, we drop quickly, be very conservative. So the mechanism as a whole is conservative. And that is the mechanism TCP runs to control congestion in the steady state. So when the connection is already in the steady state, AIMD is the mechanism. You see that when TCP connection just starts, there's another mechanism. It's called slow start. And the reason that it's called slow start is because, again, TCP tries to be conservative, will always start from congestion window size 1, the very small congestion window size. So now let's check out the mechanism, slow start. And this is for TCP's initial state. Okay, so steady state, AIMD, initial state, slow start. Something that's a little bit unusual in TCP's process of discovering the proper sending rate is this. There's an initialization phase, and the mechanism is called the slow start. Okay. What it does there is, when TCP is just starting, a connection is just starting, the initial window size is set to 1 MSS. And the increasing pace is no longer AIMD, it's actually what? Doubling the window size per round trip time. AIMD is what? Increasing the window size by 1 MSS per round trip time. Wow, so that's actually quite aggressive, isn't it? You are correct, because the window size in slow start, in the initialization phase, is going to increase exponentially. Because every round trip time, you double the size. Every round trip time, you double the size. As opposed to in AIMD, every round trip time, you increase by 1 segment size. Every round trip time, you increase 1 segment size. Right, so yeah, the initial rate, very, very small. 1. So slow start is actually referring to, the initial window size being, the lowest possible. But the increasing rate is actually exponentially fast. Okay, so this is actually the part of design in TCP's congestion control that can confuse you a little bit. It's slow start, but it's actually increasing really, really fast, right? So the intuition says this is fast start, in fact.
Yes, you are correct, but the slow here actually meant the window size, the initial value is a very low value. The last point I want to make is this. Doubling window size per round trip time in the implementation is actually done this way. Window size is incremented by 1 after receiving an act. So look at the illustration I have on the right. A is the sender, B is the receiver. A originally in SoulStar having a CWND of 1 MSS. That data packet will go, receiver here will send an ACK back. Host A here being the sender, receiving an ACK will do what? CWND plus plus, and the increment is 1 MSS. As a result, it was originally 1, now 2. Therefore, sender here can send 2 segments in MSS. So these will go and generate 2x coming back. Sender here receiving 2x will be calling this line twice, therefore 2 will become 4. Similarly, 4x comes back here, and this will be called 4 times, therefore the window size becomes 8. And the next round, 16. You see an exponential increase here, right, by a factor of 2, isn't it? So overall, TCP's process of discovering the proper sending rate is more like this. This is a TCP connection, and this is the beginning of it, and this is the end of it. So there's this initialization phase where we run the SoulStar mechanism, okay, and the behavior of the window size is AIMD. And then in the steady phase, we run this congestion avoidance mechanism. The behavior of the window size is AIMD.
All right, sometimes Hollywood just say it, but obviously doesn't mean what I say. So when I say in the initialization state that the mechanism is AIMD, when I say AIMD, I actually meant EIMD. Yeah. Oh, hi, good morning, Ricky and Shiren. All right, so that was the SoulStar. You start from the very small window size, but in SoulStar, the window size actually doubled every round trip time. Okay. All right, now, next thing is this. We talked about when the traffic is smooth, we increase the congestion window size. And now you see that how do we know the traffic is smooth? We seems to be depending on the signal called ACK packet, isn't it? In AIMD, when there's an ACK received, we increase the window size. In SoulStar, when there's an ACK received, we increase the window size. Now the question is, when we need to decrease the window size, what is the signal there? Yeah, in TCP, it takes packet losses or signs of having packet losses as the signal to slow down, to lower the sending window size. And you know what? In TCP, we have 2 cases we detect the possibility of a packet loss. If you recall, in reliable data transfer part of TCP, there's this timeout mechanism, and that is borrowed from the RDT 3.0, isn't it? So in case there's timeout, chance is very high that there's a packet drop. There's another way of detecting packet drop in TCP. That is an optimization mechanism. It's called the fast retransmission. Do you recall? When there are 3 duplicate ACKs, TCP sender will fast retransmit the packet. You keep getting the duplicate ACKs. Yeah. So in TCP, there are 2 cases of losses. One, 3 duplicate ACKs. The other, timeout. And which one is more serious, do you think? Yeah, timeout seems more serious, and therefore TCP handles the slow down differently. It slows more when the situation is serious and slow down less in 3 duplicate ACKs. That is less severe as the timeout case. So here's the exact mechanism for TCP to slow down.
And you heard probably Polly saying, yeah, TCP increases the window size when there are no losses and decrease when there's a loss. But if you think a little bit carefully, in TCP, the sender detects a packet loss two ways. One is, there's a timer set when the packet is sent. When the timer expires, the sender there discovers the packet is lost and then retransmit. But in TCP, there's something also called fast retransmission. We are retransmitting packet faster right after receiving triple duplicate X. So there are two ways in TCP sender to detect a packet loss. In fact, in TCP's condition control, we are also adjusting the window size differently depending on which type of loss is being detected. First is a loss being detected by sensing the timer timeout. We then set the window size all the way down to 1 segment, and then grow exponentially just like in slow start state. After a certain threshold, then grow linearly just like in the congestion avoidance state. On the other hand, when the loss is detected by seeing 3 duplicate acts, then the congestion window is actually cut to only half the current window size, not all the way down to 1. And then grows simply linearly. So this is very much like what? AIMD. Yeah, you're actually right. When the loss is detected this way, the TCP sender is actually dropping the sending rate to half and then continue on with the AIMD, therefore, into the CA state, the congestion avoidance state. So the TCP connection here is still in the steady state. But if the loss is detected this way, it appears that the TCP thinks this is actually a more serious scenario. Therefore, the window size needs to go all the way down and then being reinitialized, until the window size grows to a certain degree. Then we do the AIMD, like in the steady state. Now, based on your intuition, which loss of these two you think is more serious? Yeah, I know, it's quite obvious, right? Because in this case here below, at least you get to receive 3 duplicate acts. That indicates the network is still capable of sending 3 packets through. Therefore, you get 3 acts back. But this scenario here, it's top. You don't get any data through, you don't get any data back, or you get only 2 duplicate acts back. So, more serious. Therefore, Windows drop down even more aggressively, all the way down to 1, and that's restart, reinitialize again. Now, the only thing that you thought, interesting is this. So we have not yet defined what is this threshold yet, because it seems that this threshold is there to determine how a TCP connection there start from the initial state, entering the steady state. So that is also the point to decide. When do we change the mechanism from slow start to congestion avoidance? First point to add to the slide is this. The threshold in TCP's implementation is called SS thresh. You guess, S and S here actually meant S and S here in slow start. Second point, the whole mechanism differentiating how we adjust the window size depending on the type of loss being detected is implemented in TCP Reno. Yeah, I know. TCP designers is a bit weird. They like to call different versions of TCP with names instead of using a number. So Reno there is essentially the version 4, TCP version 4. There's another version of TCP, TCP Tahoe. So this is actually the first generation. So what's being designed there is this. The loss, no matter whether it's detected by timeout or 3 duplicate acts, the window size is adjusted the same way, always down to 1. That means Tahoe there is very, very conservative. Whenever there is a loss detected, the sender always go down to the lowest rate possible. And that might be a bit too slow based on experience, therefore, in the second generation. The designers begin to say, hey, maybe in this easier case, at least we see 3 data go and then 3 duplicate acts back. It's not so bad. Let's only cut the window size to half and then remain in the congestion avoidance phase.
All right, so once again, Poly meant Reno being version 2 by saying version 4, okay? So Tahoe is the original version and Reno the second one. And people find that Tahoe always drops to window size 1 is a little bit too conservative. So in Reno, we differentiate two kinds of losses and therefore adjust and reduce the sending rate differently. So that was Reno. The last video introducing the full TCP's congestion mechanism is called transitioning. Okay, if you recall, once again, the congestion avoidance is the steady state. The slow start is the initialization state. So how does the TCP connection transition from the initialization state to the steady state? Yeah, that is the mechanism this video is going to talk about. And it depends on a special variable called the SS thresh, which you have already seen in the previous video. It's called the slow start threshold. That meant when the window size exceeds that threshold, we exit the slow start state and enters the congestion avoidance state, and therefore completing the transition from the initial to the steady state.
So what I'm illustrating here is TCP Tahoe's window size changing over time. At the beginning, window size set to 1 segment, and then slow start, right? This is the initial phase, and therefore you see exponentially fast growth, the concave curve. And this is going to go until we hit the slow start threshold. That's when we exit slow start and enter congestion avoidance, where we do AIMD, so additive increase. At this point, we detect a packet loss due to 3 duplicate acts. But in Tahoe, we'll just drop the window size back down to 1 again, and then slow start again, a concave curve, until we hit the threshold again, and then AIMD again in the congestion avoidance state. Now, what's in Reno is, however, when we detect 3 duplicate acts, a packet loss, what we do is more simple, where we just reset the window size to half of the original window size, which is 12. So we set it to 6, and then continue to grow the window size AIMD, such as in the congestion avoidance state. Okay. Now, by looking at this plot, you also see, hey, we are switching from the slow start to the congestion avoidance state using the threshold. At the beginning, the SS thresh is initialized to a fixed value. But afterwards, you see the SS thresh is also changing. And when we detect a loss, when we need to reset the congestion window size down to some lower value, when that happens, when the packet loss is detected, the threshold here is also reset. And the value is set to exactly half of the window size before the packet loss is detected. So SS thresh is set to half of the window size just before the loss event. Okay. So in the TCP Reno's case, it's convenient. We set the threshold to the half of the window size, and we also set the window size to half of the earlier window size and continue to grow like this. So it's also saying passing the threshold and then this connection in the congestion avoidance state. If we go back to the original question asking, when do we switch from the slow start state to the congestion avoidance state, or from exponential increase back to linear increase? And so it's very clear. Once the congestion window hits the SS thresh, the slow start threshold. Because if you look at this, slow start, passing the thresh, growing linearly. Slow start, passing the threshold, growing linearly. And in this case, we see 3 duplicate acts, therefore we drop the window size to half, and we drop the SS thresh also to half. But hey, as long as it's beyond the thresh, the window size grows linearly, then the design does not conflict, okay, with other parts of TCP's congestion window adjustment mechanism.
All right, so that's the full TCP's congestion window size adjustment mechanism. Next phase is that Polly is going to tell, again, the mechanism, but this time in the finite state machine form, so that it's solid and concrete. Okay, and so the first finite state machine we'll introduce is how the slow start works.
Now let's summarize TCP's congestion control. And what I'm going to show you is actually a little bit more formal using a finite state machine, and you see how TCP Center here implements, okay, the mechanism of adjusting the window size. The full finite state machine has 2 states. Okay, each represents different phases of TCP's congestion control in a connection. So the first is the initial phase. the slow start phase. Initialization transition here is actually initializing the condition window size to one segment, and then initializing the SS thresh to 64 kilobytes. I think this number could differ from operating system to operating system, and then initializing the duplicate add count. All right, so that was clear. Let's move to the normal transitions. There are 4 of them. Okay. If you look a bit closer, the top 2 here are actually the transitions handling the cases where the sender receives X. The bottom 2 are the cases where the sender detects losses. So this one here is actually detecting a loss due to receiving 3 duplicate acts. This transition here is actually detecting a loss due to timeout. Now let's talk about each of these transitions a bit more. So number 1 here is if we receive a new ACK. Now according to slow start mechanism, the condition window needs to be incremented by 1 segment, and that's it. So duplicate ACK count is reduced to 0 just so to clear all the duplicate ACK counts, because now we are receiving a new ACK, so we should definitely clear the dupe ACK count. And at this point, then we employ the rest of the sender's mechanism, the RDT part of it, so that we slide the window over and then send new segments. And how much we send out there depends on the result of the condition control mechanism working. And next, transition number 2, this is when we receive a duplicate ACK. So what we do here, of course, increment the counter for duplicate ACK. And what do? The condition control power says no more, right? Unless the count here reaches 3. That triggers transition 3. Okay. Now in RDT of TCP, this event is going to also trigger fast retransmission. So in a way, when there's dupe ACK count equaling 3, then we do something for the condition control and then some more for the reliable data transfer. Now in the condition control, what we do is setting the SS thresh to half the window size, and window size to half of the current window size, which is now the value of SS thresh. And then reset the duplicate ACK count, right? And then we can begin doing the RDT, which is to retransmit, fast retransmit packets. Now the number of packets we can send now then is determined by the condition window size we just set aside earlier. Transition 4, this is also packet loss, but this is packet loss detected by having a timeout. So in this case, the condition control says we need to set SS thresh to half of the window size, and the window size all the way down to 1 packet, and then reset the dupe ACK count. And then from here, the RDT mechanism, which is what? To retransmit the missing segment. And because this time, in this case, condition window is set to 1 packet, therefore we only retransmit 1 segment. Okay. No matter how how many packets have been sent, how many yellow packets or yellow bytes are there in the sliding window.
All right, so start 4 transitions. 2 of them retransmit packet, handles cases of losses. 2 of them handling ACKs. 1 kind of ACK is new ACK, that is great. Increase the window size by 1 packet. And by 1 packet, I meant that in TCP will be 1 maximum segment size. So it's window size plus MSS officially. Okay. So previously, when Polly left the note on the live chat, I said that window size is window size plus 1. And that 1 meant 1 packet. And so to be precise, it should be CWND plus MSS. Okay, such as what we've shown in the finite state machine. And guys, you are right. Okay, I meant to say thumbs up here. Yeah, very good. Transition 3 and 4 are retransmitting the missing segments. Okay, and which transition sends a new segment? Do you recall? The one with a new ACK, right? Now, that's just the slow start part of TCP's condition control. There's another part that is condition avoidance. Yeah, that is what this video is about. So together, two parts of the finite state machines will connect, and that will be the full TCP's condition control mechanism.
done with the slow start state. Now, let's move to the congestion avoidance state. So the first thing is, hey, when do we transition from SS to CA? Yep, when the congestion window size is larger than the SS thresh. And that takes us to the congestion avoidance state, where we see again, transition new egg, transition duplicate egg, transition dupe egg count equal 3. And hey, where's the timeout state? Well, the timeout state is actually here, right? Because when we're in the congestion avoidance state, timeout is actually series packet loss. We reset the congestion window down to one end. Yeah, start from the slow start, increment the window size exponentially, start from the slow start. So we need to do a state change in this finite state machine, going back from CA to SS. Okay. And otherwise, all these the same, just like timeout event. Similarly, for dupe egg count equaling 3, all the same, all the same. Okay. Actually, similarly for dupe egg, just incrementing the duplicate egg count. But the last one, the new egg, wow, we need to be careful here, all right? Because in SS versus CA, when we receive a new egg, meaning no loss, we actually increase the window size differently. So yes, this is why you see here. In SS in slow start, we're incrementing the window size by 1 segment per egg. Here, we need to increase the window size by 1 segment per round trip time. So be very, very careful here. This is receiving an egg, not, hey, checking and we see that there's 1 round trip time elapsed. So we need to figure out exactly the amount to increment to the window size so that after 1 round trip time, the increment will be exactly 1. And how do we do that? Think this. If the window size is CWND and the packet size is MSS, how many packets will be out in one round trip time? Yeah, this many, isn't it? Okay. And after all these packets come back in, the increment of the congestion window should be 1. That is saying we cannot be incrementing the window size by MSS. We need to increase this much. Okay. After this amount of packets received, then we add to this value. So we need to divide this value by these. That would say this is the amount we need to increment per packet. Okay. So if we rewrite this formula here, it's what? MSS multiply, so MSS multiply reverse of CWND to MSS. So after reversing, MSS at the top and then CWND at the bottom. And that is TCP congestion control sender's finite state machine in a simplistic way. You see here, let me summarize again. Yeah, so these are the events receiving new egg. These are the events handling timeout. And these are the events handling receiving the duplicate eggs and it's reaching the count of 3.
So Polly is a little bit busy here trying to make sure that you guys pick up the mechanism, especially in a formal way. So you see that in slow start, congestion window size increment by 1 MSS. But in congestion avoidance, in slow start state, it increments by 1 MSS. But in congestion avoidance state, it increments by this much. 1 MSS multiply 1 MSS divided by CWND. Okay? And Polly tries to explain in the video. It's only a portion of the congestion window size currently, such that after a round trip time, the increment is exactly 1 MSS. All right? So in slow start state, every egg packet increases 1 packet size. But in congestion avoidance, only until it's 1 round trip time, we increase 1 packet size. Okay, so the speed is different. And of course, you know that in the slow start state, it's much faster. And therefore, EIMD and versus AIMD there. All right, good. And you know what? That's exercise incrementing the congestion window size with quiz 28. All right. So let's go to the PowerPoint. Sorry. There. Okay, so this is Polly's whiteboard. So let me dribble here. Okay, this is quiz 28. All right, guys. What I'm showing here on the left, this is the entire finite state machine of TCP's condition control mechanism. Okay, good. It's a little bit small, sorry, that it's complicated, so that I cannot fit it in one slide here. So it's a little bit small. Okay, if you want it larger, go to the Discord space, channel W10, quiz 28, and you can blow up the picture there and zoom in. Okay, and here's the scenario. I have a host A here sending data, and I have a host B here receiving data. All right, and at this point in time, host A has a condition window size 3 MSS, and the source star threshold being A, and it sends 3 packets consecutively. So the sequence number of these 3 packets will be 0 MSS, 1 MSS, and 2 MSS, because I'm assuming that each packet is exactly MSS bytes large. And host B here, receiving these data, will of course send ACK back, right? And there'll be 3 ACKs. And the ACK sequence number for the first one will be what? 1 MSS. The second one, 2 MSS. The third one, 3 MSS. So what I'm asking you is, hey, host A, the sender's condition window size, will be adjusted, right, when a new ACK is received. All right? So what will be the value of B and C and D? And I guess the value of B and C and D will depend on exactly what the source star threshold is, right? So you know better whether this is the SS state or the CA state, because the formula you apply will be different. All right, good. So for Q28, what I'm asking you is to derive the value of B, C, D when A is 6 versus when A is 3. All right, guys? All right, so let's go to the Discord space, channel W10, quiz 28. Guys, you have 3 minutes to work on this, okay? For Q1 should be straightforward. For Q2, it might be a little bit complicated. You might need to do some calculation. So 3 minutes, start counting now. All right, time's up. It's not exactly easy, right? You see that the formula is straightforward, right? But when you are asked to do the calculation, then it gets a little bit fuzzy, or it gets a little bit complicated. But you know what, guys? Polly is prepared. So explain. Let's go over here. Yeah, so the Q1 is straightforward, isn't it? Because when A is 6, when the three new eggs arrive, the window size is always smaller than the threshold. Therefore, the increment is always MSS. So it's 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it's straightforward. And we focus on this case where Q2, where A is 3. Okay, and this is the case we are in the congestion avoidance case, right? Because the threshold is the same as CWND, and that takes us away from the soul start state and enter the condition avoidance state. And therefore, we apply this formula, CWND plus MSS multiply MSS divided by CWND, okay? And so let's take it one step at a time. So we'll be calculating B, obviously. And it'll be CWND and the exact formula. And because currently the window size is 3, and so we plug in 3 MSS to CWND here and here. And so we get 3 plus 1 over 3 MSS, and that's 3.33. So I guess you guys all get this fine. I guess the place you guys get stuck a little bit is the next one, okay? But some of you guys might be thinking this, hey, can a window size be like fractional 3.33? In this case, do we send 1 packet or 2 packet or 3 packet or 3.33 packet? What does that mean? You see that in TCP, we are counting bytes. So 3.33 meant certain amount of bytes. So you might be able to send 3, 4, 5, or 6 packets if the packet size is actually smaller and added up being smaller than the window size. Okay, so exactly how many packets are sent really depends on the packet size. All right? So again, depends on the packet size. Right? It could be more than 2. And in this case, it could be more than 3. All right? So in TCP, things get a little bit complicated. Okay. Now, what is next? Right? We have now 10 over 3 plus 3 over 3 over 10 MSS. Okay, and the second data packet will take us to 3.63, right? Or something like that. And you can see that if you your sense of arithmetic is good, you will know that calculating the window size this way approximately increment the window size by 1 MSS in 1 round trip time. Okay, good. All right, so that is the window size change, the differences between soul start and congestion avoidance. All right. And you know what, guys, we move on. good to see you guys popping up and typing up solutions. I guess that with others' answer and with a little bit of illustration from Polly, things get a little bit more clear. And you know why, guys? The finite state machine of congestion control gets complicated. It appears, I mean, it makes sense, but when you really need to do the window size change, it will take some time. So no worries. Similarly, when Polly introduces this optimization of TCP's congestion control called fast recovery, things get messier, more complicated. I guess sometimes, if you think about it, the mechanism can be simple, but to track the mechanism can be a little bit complicated. Okay, so think of TCP's congestion control this way. It makes sense. It's not hard, but if you really need to track it like a computer program, it's a little bit complicated, and patience is required. All right, good. So far we have talked about TCP's congestion control and given the finite state machine, but that is TCP's simple form. There's a optimization called fast recovery. And now let Polly introduce the fast recovery. And to make sure that you can track easier this time, the fast recovery of TCP optimizes the case where the TCP sender receives 3 duplicate ACKs. Okay. Currently, when 3 duplicates are received, what do? We set the threshold to half the window size, and we set the window size to threshold. Essentially, drop the window size to half, right? It's a more generous way of decreasing the window size as opposed to timeout. But with fast recovery, TCP will try to be a little bit more generous, okay? Setting it to half the current window size plus 3 segments. So allowing 3 more packets to go out in a way. And the ration behind such a design is, hey, at this point, the TCP sender can still receive duplicate ACKs, which is not so bad. Maybe there will be more duplicate ACKs back. And this particular missing segment could be just a case of what? A packet somehow gets a longer queuing delay in the network. And maybe if you try a few times, the true ACK will come back. And then that will suppress, and then you will get a cumulative ACK and will clear everything. And then TCP could quickly move on. So fast recovery is thinking a little bit optimistically. This might be the case where the missing packet is not really missing. It's just that this packet gets stuck in the network a little bit longer than expected. And the other packets, after this delay packet has already arrived at the receiver for some reason. Okay, good. So here's the fast recovery mechanism. And guys, pay attention to this video. It serves as a summary of congestion control mechanism of TCP. And it also serves as a starting point for the next 3 quizzes coming. Okay, very important. Fast recovery in TCP.
This finite state machine, now we walk through it. It's kind of symmetric and clean, relatively easy to track. This is also the mechanism implemented in the TCP Tahoe, the version 1. In TCP Reno, it's actually being extended. So the hack here is called the fast recovery. Now, this version looks substantially complicated, but let me tell you this, hopefully makes it a bit simpler for you. The only transitions that are actually touched from the previous finite state machine are just these. Okay, the case where the dupe ACK count reaches 3. So previously what we do is this. We set the SS thresh to half the window size and the window size to SS thresh. But now, okay, in Reno, we actually add 3 more segments to the window size. So we are actually a little bit more generous about setting the window size. And the logic behind this is, hey, if we receive 3 duplicate ACKs, that means the channel between the sender and receiver, there's enough capacity to allow 3 data segments to go. Although out of order, still triggering duplicate ACKs to come back, right? So 3 spaces, therefore generating 3 duplicate ACKs. So there's enough capacity, right? So we don't have to go all the way down, okay, or half down. So as long as, hey, we're seeing, duplicate X, that means the capacity is still there. Maybe this is just a very, short-term condition, short-term precondition, okay, happening. So maybe we just keep, pushing a little bit more, and when this short-term outage or short-term condition goes out, then we can come back to normal. Okay, so this is the logic behind the fast recovery mechanism here. So after adding 3 more segments to the window size, we enter the fast recovery state. And staying in the fast recovery state, we apply the same logic. As long as we receive a duplicate act, we continue to increment the window size. Because being able to receive a duplicate act is because we allow one data to go out, right? Yeah. So this is going to be repeated until what? Until we finally get a new act back, or all these extra packets we send out by being more generous about the window size somehow get dropped in the middle, meaning the congestion is not short term. It's a bit more pathological, persistent. So we will run into timeout here. In this case, drop the window size to 1, feel free. But if it's in this case, it's okay. Then we can just reset the window size to normal, which is half of the window size, and then go back to the congestion avoidance states, and then begin linear increase again.
All right, so that was fast recovery. Okay, so that's exercise fast recovery. Okay, and quiz 29, 30, and 31 will be a series of quizzes take you through the fast recovery mechanism. Now, the part 1. So this is quiz 29. Okay, good. So you see, again, here, Poly has the full finite state machine of TCP with the fast recovery. Good. Again, you can also go to channel W10, quiz 29 to see the bigger picture. Okay, and here's the scenario. Okay, host A, host B. Host A sending data, host B sending back X. And the initial condition will be congestion window size equal 4 MSS, and the current threshold is 8 MSS. Okay. As a result, we can send 4 segments. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the sequence number, let's assume that we start from 0 byte, and the data size is always 1 maximum segment size. Therefore, this will be 0 MSS. This will be 1 MSS, the sequence number, 2 MSS, and 3 MSS. Good. Now the scenario is a bit tricky now because, hey, 2 MS data packet is lost. And so as a result, receiver here, host B here, receives 0 MSS, sends ACK for the data packet, and that will be 1 MSS. Host B here sees 1 MSS, the data packet, sends the ACK for that, and that will be 2 MSS. But, not seeing the third packet, but seeing a packet. And it says 3 MSS. That will generate what? A duplicate ACK. Therefore, it's still 2 MSS. Okay? And these 3 ACKs will come back to host A here. And of course, these ACKs will also trigger the window size to change. But this time, I'm not asking you whether the window size would change. I'm asking you this. When ACK 1 MSS arrive here, you know what? The sender here would, the sender here would generate 2 data packets out. So I'm asking you these 2 packet sequence number. When ACK number 2, okay, 2 MSS arrives at the sender, sender will also generate 2 packets out down here. So these 2 and these 2. What are the sequence numbers of these 4 packets? So this is a new ACK. This is a new ACK. And it would trigger the window size to change. And given the allowed window size, sends 2 data, 2 more data. So what are the sequence numbers of these 4 data packets? So that's what Q1 is about. And these packets arriving at host B will generate also ACKs. What will be the sequence number of these ACK packets? And that is what Q2 is asking. All right, guys, it will take some thinking and reading of the finite state machine. You know what? It's also a perfect time to take a break. So guys, let's go to channel, the score space, channel W10, quiz 29. All right, guys. You have 10 minutes, the break time to work on this one. All right. So let's take a break, 10 minutes. And I hope that we will get some answers that are correct. If not, don't worry, Polly will walk you through. All right, guys. I guess it's a little bit challenging, yeah, because I see from Anthony's solution here that it might not be exactly clear what 3 duplicate eggs meant. Is it the 3rd same egg or the 4th same egg? Isn't it? Some of you might be a little bit confused there, therefore having trouble coming up with the solution. And but that's assumed, yeah, because I think Anthony here is seeing, of course, when the first, let me go to the, yeah. Okay, so this is quiz 29, all right? So we say already that this is 0 MSS, this 1 MSS, this 2 MSS, this 3 MSS, okay? And therefore the egg will be 1, 2, and hey, if there's a gap here, okay, this data will trigger duplicate egg, so this is 2 MSS. But this data arriving at the source will be a new egg. So hey, 4 lower than A, so B will equal to 4 plus 1, right? And therefore we get 5. And as a result, we will be able to send the next, to send 2 packets out because this egg release 1 window space. And the window size is incremented by 1, so we can send 2 packets out. And these 2 packets will be what? 0, 1, 2, 3. We already sent 3. We can send 2 more, therefore 4 and 5. Similarly, when 2 arrive here, egg 2 arrive here, C here equals B plus 1, so 5 plus 1, and 6. And so we can send 2 more out, 6 and 7. So the 4 data packet going out will be what? 4, 5, 6, 7. There you go. Yeah, so at least 4, 5 is correct, Anthony. Yeah. But you see that the second egg arriving here, the second egg arriving here, oops. The second egg arriving here, this is not a duplicate egg, right? 1 is a new egg, 2 is a new egg. Only this one is a duplicate egg. All right, guys? See. All right, so these data packets will go out. And what will be the eggs being generated and coming back? 4, 5, 6, 7. But you know what? Currently, host B is still looking for 2 MSS to arrive. So this is gap. These are all gaps. Therefore, all these eggs will be what? Acting 2 MSS. There will be 4 more 2 MSS going back. So you see, this is this 2 MSS is new. This is the first duplicate egg. This is the 3rd duplicate egg. And this is finally, this is the first duplicate egg. This is the 2nd duplicate egg. And this one is finally the 3rd duplicate egg. So this is the first duplicate egg. This is the 2nd one. And this is the 3rd one. And at this point, yeah, if this is TCP with fast recovery, we'll trigger the fast recovery state. if this is TCP without fast recovery, we'll still do what? Do the duplicate act transition, okay, in the without fast recovery TCP, all right? But this is we will go on in quiz 30 to further the derivation of the condition window size and finding out the data and the ACK sequence number. Okay, but you see, so let's see. Team 1 here says, after sending 4, the sequence number, yeah, so 4, 5, 6, 7, this is correct. Okay, and then, yeah, all 4 ACKs will be duplicates. This is correct as well. Good, so team 1, perfect. And Anthony, for being brave, being the first one to answer. So an opportunity for Polly to illustrate, okay, what's right, what's wrong. Okay, so guys, the mechanism is straightforward, but you see that it gets a little bit complicated. So in computer network, this is very often the case, and the reason for that is because you have 2 entities, host A and host B, and they are each doing simple things, but together it can get a little bit complicated. All right, good, no worries. Now this is quiz 29. Let's move on to quiz 30, and hopefully through quiz 31 you get a better idea how fast recovery works. So let's move on to 30. All right, so quiz 30 says, let's continue from the scenario. Okay, so we have first duplicate ACK here, and this is the second, and this is the third. Okay, good. Hey, when we receive the third duplicate ACK, what do? Yeah, we trigger this transition, right? If it's TCP with fast recovery. So here, I'm asking you to calculate the value of ENF, the threshold and the window size. In Q1, if this is TCP without fast recovery, and if this is TCP with fast recovery, okay, without and with, okay. This one, I hope it's a little bit simpler. Okay, so guys, let's go to the Discord space. Quiz W10, channel W10, quiz 30. Guys, for this one, again, you have 3 minutes, all right? So let me start counting time. 3 minutes. Yeah, so I guess you guys did better this time. Okay, so Polly has also tripled and come up with her own solution. All right, make sure that, yeah. So you see that the window size, B equals 5 because this is a new egg, right? And 4 plus 1, 5. This is another new egg, 5 plus 1, 6. This is a duplicate egg. A duplicate egg does not change the window size, so D is still 6, all right? And now we have the third duplicate egg. We'll then trigger one of these. But you see, threshold is 8. So at this point, we're still in the soul star state, so it will be this transition that we take. And so the threshold will be half the window size, and the window size will be the threshold plus 3. So the with fast recovery case will be 3 and 6. Very good, guys. Without, then of course is the case where the window size is just threshold without adding the 3 MSS. Okay, but the rest will be the same. We retransmit the missing segment. Okay, and you know what? That is quiz number 31. All right, so quiz number 31 is here. It's the same scenario. You see, guys, same scenario. We have the third duplicate egg here. We just derived E and F for the with and without fast recovery case. And is there a packet generated here? And what is the sequence number? Okay. Any packet sent at the third duplicate egg here? If yes, what is the sequence number? In case there's fast recovery and in case there's no fast recovery. Okay, guys, for this one, let's go to the score space and channel W10 quiz 31. Guys, I think it should be straightforward. How about 2 minutes? Okay, start counting time. right, guys. Yeah, it can be a little bit confusing, but I guess after the lecture today, if you sit down and look at the finite state machine again, it will be clear. Okay, so let me illustrate. Okay. So this is quiz 31. All right, and you see that if this is with fast recovery, okay, the third duplicate act here will trigger transition over here to star, and it will retransmit the missing segment. And which one is the missing segment? It's this one here. So this sequence number will be 2MSS. So it's sending something, but only the missing segment. It's not sending a new segment. All right, so according to the finite state machine, it's retransmitting the missing segment. And without fast recovery, actually I go to channel W10 quiz 28. Yeah, and I zoom in here. So if it's without fast recovery, 3 duplicate acts would set the threshold to half window size to threshold, reset the duplicate act count back to 0, and retransmit also just the missing segment. So in fast recovery and without fast recovery, the case, both will be sending just 2 MSS, that particular data packet. All right. Yeah, I know. Yes, it is. If it's a new act, you're right. The new packet will be 7 + 1. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, so it's a little bit tricky for a distributed system. It's a little bit hard to track the state of the systems here, there. Well, now you're experiencing how complicated the internet can be. Okay, good. Good. I hope that all of you see how host A, host B, they have no choice but to follow what the finite state machine suggests. Okay, and guys, before we introduce the finite state machines, Polly tries to explain the design of the window size change. But after introducing the finite state machine, then you see all the details, exactly how many data are sent and what the sequence number are, and if there's retransmission, which is the sequence number of the retransmission. Okay, good. So hope you guys see that how important it is to have these quizzes. Otherwise, it would be very hard for you guys to pick up TCP's condition control mechanism with fast recovery. Okay? Good. I'm so glad that you guys all survived. Because I see you guys typing up and explaining why, right? For quiz 31st, and I felt that safe. Okay, at least how exactly TCP's condition control works is communicated. Good, and now we move on. We are not exactly done. We have just 3 more topics to go. The first 2 topics are about the more advanced version of TCP that researchers are thinking about. Okay, one is to model exactly the transmission rate of a TCP on average. Okay, so there's some modeling people who are very good and derive the average TCP sending rate.
Let's cover 2 more topics related to TCP, and these are about what the research community is doing trying to improve TCP for the future need. First is about how one improves TCP such that it can support long, fat pipe. Okay, what I meant by long pipe is a TCP connection that has long round trip time, and a fat pipe is that it has high throughput. Okay, and this is what we know. Okay, sending rate or the throughput should equal the window size divided by round trip time. So this is 0.1 second, and the rate should be 10 gigabits per second. So you see the congestion window is essentially the 2 terms multiply, and that is 1 gigabits and approximately 110 megabyte. So at the sender side, receiver side, 100 megabyte is required to buffer the packets that are in flight. And this is just to maintain one connection, right? If you have 10 connections, that's already 1 gigabyte of memory. If you have 100 connections, that's gonna probably take all your memory away. This is just one issue. Another issue is this. TCP is actually go back and like. What if you run into a packet loss that is triggered by having 3 duplicate acts? What we do there is we set the window size to half of the window size before a loss event is detected. And you know what? The window size, the number of packets there could be, can be as high as this, because if we divide this by 1500 byte, you get these many packets in flight. So in that case, we'll have to retransmit all the unact packets, okay, and half of the window size here, okay? So that's, wow, 41 and 666 something packets that we need to send. The bandwidth consumption there, right? The amount of bandwidth we might be wasting there is very significant. So TCP, the current design, isn't really ideal to support long fat pipes. And this is actually assuming that there's no packet loss at all, no bit error at all. What if we have error? One will have to derive the TCP throughput model considering loss before one can see how big a problem it is to try to support long fat pipes. So let's try to do some derivation here and see if we can come up with the average TCP throughput, okay, provided the window size, round trip time. The assumption is that let's ignore the slow start, okay? Consider just the condition avoidance operation and assume that there's always data coming in. And the scenario is very simplistic, which is illustrated here. Over time, the changes of the window size is exactly from half of W increase all the way to W, and W is where the loss will always occur, and therefore we drop the window size back down to half W because this is in condition avoidance. When there's a loss, drop to half W. When there's a loss at W, drop to half W. And so it's not hard for you to see what is the average window size? Yeah, the midpoint here, right? So 3/4 of W. And therefore the throughput is what? The average window size divided by the round trip time, which is this term here. Now, if we plug in, this is the goal throughput. And this is the round trip delay. Now, what is the window size now? Well, it will be this term multiplying each other and multiplying the reverse of 3/4. Therefore, it's 4/3 now. So this is actually even bigger than the CWND we're calculating there. So with loss, the amount of memory required to store data higher. The amount of unnecessary retransmission also higher. We can go on and on, right? Try to derive a more general model. So let me not go over the exact derivation, just tell you, if the loss probability is L, okay, one can actually come up with the TCP throughput being represented this way. Round trip time here, okay, square root of L here, and the maximum segment size here. Okay. Now, if take the same example here, take the same setting there. Packet size being 1500 bytes, round trip time being 100 milliseconds, and the goal throughput 10 gigabits per second. In order to achieve so, the loss rate needs to be as slow as this. 2 multiply 10 to the power of -10. Okay? Now this is a loss rate that's also impossible pretty much on the internet today. All right? So definitely we need new versions of TCP to support very high fat pipes going a long way.
All right, so that was TCP modeling, and from that work, from that research, people begin to see that if we want to send data in super high rate over TCP, well, a new design is necessary. So you see that such a pipelined, reliable data transfer protocol with congestion control, it's already better than the stop and wait, but still not fast enough for the modern need. Okay, so the other research direction is whether TCP, after with the design controlling the congestion window this way, would we achieve fairness among all the TCP connections? Okay, it's a very interesting topic.
Another major issue is this, fairness. Okay, let's talk about fairness at this level first, the TCP fairness. Okay, so what we're talking about here, the goal is to make sure that the K TCP sessions will share the same amount of bandwidth if it go across the same link of bandwidth R. So the eventual share of the sending rate or the throughput should be R divided by K. Okay, so in this scenario, what you're seeing is the router in the middle, the capacity is R, and we have two connections. So connection 1 here should have half of R, and connection 2 here should have the equal amount. So we have two competing TCP sessions, and they're competing for a link with capacity R. So what I'm showing here are the relationship of connection 1 and connection 2's throughput. So one extreme is connection 1 gets the whole R, while connection 2 gets nothing. And this is the other extreme. Connection 2 gets R, while connection 1 gets nothing. The fair point is right here in the middle. Okay, each of them gets half of R. So you see here, the dotted black line is to draw the equal bandwidth share, meaning if the bandwidth of connection 1 and 2 falls on this black line, yeah, they'll be fair to each other. Now, the blue line here, okay, is actually illustrating, this is actually the boundary, the capacity of the link. Okay? If the sum of connection 1 and 2 throughput goes beyond the blue line, that means congestion is beginning to occur, packets will begin to drop. Now let's say we start from here. Connection 1 having this much throughput, while connection 2 have very small throughput. As time goes by, okay, we're in congestion avoidance state, so we will continue to do additive increase. Therefore, connection 1's throughput will continue to increase, just like connection 2's throughput will continue to increase. And the characteristic, the value of connection 1 and 2's throughput will fall along this line here with the slope of 1. Now, as it goes beyond the blue line here, this is actually beyond the network capacity, we'll begin to see packet drop. And what we'll see next is what? The two of them reducing the throughput to half of the value here. Okay, so this is connection 2's. Connection 2's throughput drop to half of it. Okay, right down here. Connection 1's throughput drop to half of it, right down here. Okay. So having a loss, decrease the window size by a factor of 2, and that takes us from here down to here. So this is the current throughput of connection 1 and connection 2. Let's move on, right? It will continue to go additive increase as we are in the congestion avoidance state. Crossing the boundary of blue line, drop packet again, and decrease the window size again. Okay, again by factor of 2. So we go down here. So you see, additive increase, multiplicative decrease. Additive increase. You see, the throughput of connection 1 and 2 are actually what? Approaching the equal bandwidth share. So TCP between the connections, the mechanism warrants that they will be fair to each other. So we see between TCP connections they'll be fair to each other, but what about TCP to UDP? Multimedia applications actually prefer not to use TCP because TCP has this window size mechanism when there's congestion drop it, right? So the rate, sending rate is actually throttled by the congestion control mechanism. So some of the multimedia applications would prefer UDP, and they would send audio video data at high rate, constant rate without really adapting to congestion. So would that be fair? Of course not. Okay. And not to mention this, what if you have applications who open up multiple parallel TCP connections, okay, versus other applications who opens one TCP connection at a time to send data? Now consider this case. A link of rate R with 9 existing connections already, right? Then each have R over 9 share of the bandwidth. When there's a new app coming in asking for 1 TCP, that app then will share with 9 existing connections and each get 1/10 of the R. But if the new app comes in and then asks for 9 parallel TCP connections, so that will be what? R dividing by 9 plus 9. And each connection is this much because the new app gets 9 of these, so let's multiply this by 9. New app gets half of R. So a new app designing this way versus a new app designing this way, okay, competing with other existing connections, it's actually hard to make it fair. And you know what? Web browsers, okay, these days do this. Okay? They might start parallel connections to fetch one page. Previously, Internet Explorer were very aggressive. Okay? For example, starting 8 parallel connections, 4 parallel connections to try to fetch web objects in a page. But nowadays, the HTTP consortium actually regulates so that they do not overdo this.
All right, and that takes us to the last quiz this week, quiz 32. And this is regarding the fairness of TCP connections. So, I mean, you heard that if a browser is designed such that it opens up several parallel connections, then one HTTP session can get a multiple amount of data compared to another browser which only starts one TCP connection. So that's fairness at another level. But let's come back to the fairness among the TCP connections. Okay, so you saw a animation of the TCP connections, and the two of them, so connection 1, connection 2, they might start at different rates at the beginning here. Right, so connection 1 obviously has a higher rate, connection 2 has a somewhat low rate. Okay, so connection 1's rate is here, connection 2's rate is here. Okay, one is high, the other is low. But you see that they will both do what? Additive increase. Okay, so they will additive increase. Both of them will increase linearly. Okay, and because this is the threshold, the bandwidth limit. Therefore, at some point after exceeding this limit, both of them will what? Multiplicative decrease. All right. So you see this animation that they will additive increase, multiplicative decrease, although at the starting time, the two connections appears they are not fair to each other, but eventually they will. So that's also what's nice about TCP's condition window mechanism, that AIMD thing. All right. So this quiz asks rather, so can we try other way of controlling the condition window size of TCP, such as AIAD, such as MIMD, such as the other way around, MIAD? Would these three allow us to get equal bandwidth share eventually among all TCP connections? So tell me yes or no. Okay, and those who can tell me also why, that would be great. All right, guys, you have 5 minutes here. Think about this. AIMD works. AIMD works. Would AIAD, MIMD, MIAD work? All right, so let's go to the discourse space. Yeah, and this is W10, quiz 32 channel. And guys, 5 minutes. Those who tell me why gets bonus. Guys, you can actually borrow the same way the textbook is illustrating how the two connections will converge and share equal rate. And so you guys can also illustrate how AIAD will not converge to equal rate, or MIMD, MIAD not converge, by illustrating. So you can actually write it down with your notebook and take a picture of that and upload on the W10 Quiz 32 channel. All right, how about that? All right, and you guys know this stuff really well. Very good. It seems that this is easier. More advanced research topic seems easier than understanding TCP with fast recovery. Yeah, so you guys are correct. So James here says it does not fix the imbalance. So if I may come back to my slides. Okay, quiz 32. And you see, if we do additive increase, additive decrease, all we will do is just to move along this line, right? If the initial state is here, I will just additive increase and additive decrease, additive increase, additive decrease. And multiplicative increase and multiplicative decrease is the same. We are still here, except that we probably also a little bit going farther from the origin, faster, but we come back also faster. Okay, so it's a wider range of oscillations. And MIAD just take us diverging, just take the two flows and diverging from each other further, right? So in this case, connection 1 is lower rate. So it's going to take this towards this end. And for the other case, this end. It really depends on the starting state of the two connections, whether it's going this way or this way, okay, depending on the starting state here. Okay, good. So the MIAD is in fact the worst. And only AIMD allows all the flows to converge to fair share. Okay, so you see that the design of TCP's congestion control mechanism seems straightforward, right? So just adding window size and multiplicative decrease window size, but you see that it's got a really, really nice property, maintaining that all TCP flows will be fair to each other if they are long enough. Okay. Good, so it does make sense that TCP's congestion window size changes in the AIMD way. Okay, it's not a random decision. It's not a random design. That's what this part of research is trying to say. Okay, good. Now we move on to the last, which is, so far we look at TCP's congestion control mechanism and only TCP's. And we already said at the beginning, TCP does it the end-to-end. But we said that there are actually two kinds of approaches, right? There's also the network-assisted approach. And in fact, yesterday when I was taking the poll, slightly more of you prefer the network-assisted approach. You know what? TCP at some point, there's a working group trying to design some network-assisted elements into TCP's congestion control. That is called the ECN, explicit congestion notification design in TCP. So let me play that video and you will see that there was an attempt to make TCP network assisted, but in the end it was abandoned because, as many of you guys said, you prefer end system because without the involvement of the routers and keep the mechanism strictly at the end at the transport layer, it's just simpler to maintain, simpler to implement. Okay, so ECN, the network assisted approach, an obsoleted version of TCP's congestion control.
That was TCP taking the end-to-end approach. Let me introduce another mechanism that's called the ECN. It's also defined for TCP/IP for the internet, but it's not really implemented or activated. And it's taking the opposite approach, the network-assisted approach. The ECN mechanism works this way. First of all, in the IP packet header, okay, or network layer header, there's this special field called TOS that stands for type of service. So in that field, two of the bits are assigned for the purpose. They are also called the ECN bits. Okay, so I'm using a green packet here to indicate that that packet header, especially the network layer header, is carrying the ECN bits. They were initialized to 0, that means no congestion. But as the packet travels through the network, running into a busy router like this, the bits will be turned down. And the packet will eventually come, okay, and arrive at the receiver of the data. And the network layer here at the receiver is going to see, oh, these 2 bits are turned on, therefore notifying the transport layer. And at that point, okay, the transport layer of the receiver is going to do this. Receiver is going to send the ECE bit on the packet going back to the data source like this. Okay, so it's going to be in the ACK packet and the ECE bit being turned on. So this is also called the E flag, okay, in the TCP packet field. Sender there, upon receiving this ECE bit packet, will then send a packet that is then the data packet going back to the receiver. And that packet is a little bit special because there's also a special bit being turned on, the CWR bit. So this is congestion window reduced bit. This is so that the destination here, the receiver of the data here knows that, okay, so my notification here, you indeed received it and reduced the sending rate. Okay, so therefore the receiver of the data does not need to send ECE bit again. Okay, otherwise, the source is going to reduce sending rate again and again. And the E bit and the C bit, the E flag and the C flag are in fact, again, in the TCP packet header. Okay, so along with all these other flags for TCP. And that finally takes us to the summary of the chapter 3. We went through the basic functionalities of transport layer protocols, multiplexing, demultiplexing, reliable data transfer, flow control, and just now, congestion control. And we talk about how UDP and TCP implement these services. Particularly, we spend quite a lot of time here, as well as here. We are now finally ready to leave the network edge. So departing from the transport layer and down to the network layer and into the network core. But the network layer is going to be split into 2 chapters. Chapter 4 is going to be about the data plane, how we forward packets real fast. And chapter 5 is going to be the data plane. So how do we control these paths we select such that the packet will travel and eventually reaching the destination, reaching the receiver.
All right. You know what? We have only 2 minutes left, and the next topic is going to be chapter 4, and the overview video will take 5.5 minutes. So what I want to say is that we'll end the lecture now. And let me remind you guys gently that next week is the 2nd exam. And you see, fast recovery, AIMD, all these are in the 2nd exam. So the 2nd exam will be a lot more challenging than the first one. So definitely spend some time studying all these finite state machines. All right? Good. And with that said, I say goodbye. I see you next week. Okay, and next week we'll start from giving the overview of chapter 4.